I found out my own son had taken $63,000 from my account and transferred my house into his name while I was still living in it. The bank locked me out without warning, and a legal notice was sitting on my kitchen table, telling me I had 30 days to leave. My wife had been gone for only 6 months, and the boy we raised together wouldn't even answer me when I asked him what he'd done. I stood there in the driveway a long time after reading that notice, just staring at the front door like it belonged to someone else. That house wasn't just wood and brick to me. I built the back porch with my own hands. My wife, Margaret, picked out every curtain, every color on those walls. Now I needed permission to step inside. I tried calling my son, Daniel, again, straight to voicemail. I left another message, same as the others. Calm voice, steady, asking him to explain. I wasn't yelling, I wasn't accusing, just asking my own son why I'd been erased from my own life. No answer. By late afternoon, a man in a gray suit showed up. Said he was representing Daniel. Didn't look me in the eye much. Just handed me another paper and said I should make arrangements soon, like I was some tenant behind on rent. I asked him, "Did my son tell you I still sleep in that bed?" He didn't answer, just nodded once and walked off like he'd done his part. That night I sat in my truck down the street. I didn't have the nerve to go to a motel yet. Felt like leaving would make it real. The porch light came on around 8, same time Margaret used to switch it on. For a second, I almost believed she was still inside. Then I saw Daniel's car pull into the driveway. He walked into my house without even looking around. No hesitation, like it had always been his. That's when something inside me shifted, quiet, but final. Because I realized this hadn't just happened overnight. He'd been planning it, and I had no idea how long my own son had been waiting for me to disappear. I didn't sleep that night. Sat in that truck until the windows fogged up and my back started aching like it used to after long shifts at the plant. Around midnight, Daniel's lights went off inside the house. Every room went dark, like he'd settled in, comfortable in my bed. By morning, I drove to the bank. Same branch Margaret and I had used for years. Same counter, same smell of carpet cleaner and coffee. I figured there had to be some mistake, some kind of fraud they hadn't caught yet. The woman at the desk pulled up my account, looked at the screen, then looked at me the way people do when they already know the answer isn't going to sit right. "Sir, these transfers were authorized." I felt my hands tighten on the edge of the counter. Authorized by who? She hesitated, then turned the screen slightly toward me. My name was there, my signature, clean, exact, perfect. Only it wasn't mine. I leaned closer, studying it like maybe I'd missed something, but I hadn't. Someone had practiced it, taken their time. "You're telling me my son forged my name and nobody questioned it?" I asked. She lowered her voice. "Sir, there's also a notarized document." That hit harder than anything else, because that meant planning, paperwork, witnesses. I asked for a copy. She printed it out and slid it across like it might burn her fingers. I didn't read it there. I folded it slow, careful, and put it in my jacket pocket. I drove straight back to the house. This time, I didn't sit in the truck. I walked up to the front door and knocked. Daniel opened it halfway like I was a stranger. For a second, we just looked at each other. Then I held up the paper and said, "You want to explain this to me?" He didn't even look surprised. Didn't look guilty either. Just tired, annoyed, like I was interrupting something. He sighed and stepped outside, closing the door behind him. "I was going to talk to you," he said. I stared at him. "When?" "After I was out on the street." He rubbed his face. Wouldn't meet my eyes. "You weren't taking care of things, Dad. The house, the bills. You were slipping." "I buried your mother 6 months ago," I said. "That's not slipping, that's grieving." He shook his head like I wasn't hearing him. "I stepped in before things got worse." "By stealing from me?" "It wasn't stealing," he snapped. "It's called protecting what's going to be mine anyway." That sentence, that's the one that stayed with me. Not the money, not the house, that. What's going to be mine anyway? I felt something cold settle in my chest. Did your mother mean that little to you? I asked. He looked away again. Don't do that. No, I said quietly. You already did. We stood there in silence for a long moment. Wind moving through the trees. Same trees Margaret used to sit under in the afternoons. Finally, he spoke again. You can stay for now, he said. 30 days is just legal timing. We'll figure something out. I let out a slow breath. Son, I don't need your permission to stay in my own house. He didn't respond, just opened the door and went back inside, leaving me standing on the porch like I didn't belong there anymore. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen the night before. The locks had been changed, every single one of them. I didn't try the door again. I just stood there on the porch, staring at that new lock like it had something to say to me. Same door I'd walked through every day for 38 years. Now it looked back at me like I didn't belong. I knocked once more. Not hard. Just enough to hear the sound echo inside. Daniel didn't come back. After a while, I stepped off the porch and walked around to the side yard. There was a window near the kitchen, one Margaret used to open in the mornings when she baked. I could see straight in from there. Different curtains, not hers. The ones she picked out had little blue flowers, soft, simple. These were gray, heavy, closed halfway like someone didn't want the outside looking in. I felt something tighten in my throat. He'd already started changing things, not waiting, not easing into it, replacing her, replacing me. I walked back to my truck and sat there again, but it felt different now. Before, I was holding on. Now, I was outside something I couldn't get back into. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was Daniel. Not a call, a text. You should have just trusted me. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I stared at those words for a long time, trying to understand how a boy I raised could talk to me like I was the problem. I typed back slowly, hands steady. I trusted you my whole life. I watched the screen. 3 dots showed up, disappeared, came back again. Then nothing. No reply. I put the phone down and leaned back in the seat, closing my eyes for just a moment. That's when I remembered something Margaret used to say. When people show you who they are, don't argue with it. She didn't say it often, only when something mattered. And right then, it mattered. By late afternoon, I drove to a motel on the edge of town. Cheap place. Flickering sign. Smelled like bleach and old smoke, but it had a bed and a door I could lock. The woman at the front desk didn't ask questions, just handed me a key and pointed down the hall. Room 12. I sat on that bed for a long time, jacket still on, shoes still on, just listening to the silence. No clocks ticking, no floorboards creaking, no Margaret moving around in the kitchen, just nothing. Eventually, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the folded bank papers again. That's when I saw something I'd missed earlier. A second document clipped behind the first. Older, dated 3 months before Margaret died. My hand slowed as I opened it, careful, like it might fall apart. It had her name on it, and underneath, a signature. Her signature. Only, something about it didn't feel right. And for the first time since all of this started, I realized this might not have begun with me at all. I sat there on that motel bed, turning that paper over in my hands like it might explain itself if I stared long enough. Margaret's name was printed clean at the top, and that signature underneath. It looked like hers at first glance, but I knew my wife. 42 years, you learn the way a person moves, even on paper. The curve of her M, the way she always pressed a little harder at the end of her name like she was making sure it stayed put. This one, it hesitated. Just a fraction, like someone copying, not writing. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, heart starting to beat a little harder than it had all day. Because if that wasn't her signature, then Daniel hadn't just gone after me. He'd started before she was even gone. That thought sat heavy. I didn't sleep much again that night. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying the last few months in my head. Hospital visits, quiet dinners, Margaret getting weaker but still sharp, still aware of everything around her. She handled all the paperwork near the end, said it gave her something to focus on. I trusted her with it, never once thought to look over her shoulder. Why would I? She was my wife. Morning came slow. Gray light through those thin motel curtains. I got dressed, folded that paper carefully, and drove straight to the only person I could think of who might tell me the truth. Frank Willis, old friend, retired lawyer, lived 2 streets over from our place. We'd shared more than a few beers on his back porch over the years. Talked about everything from baseball to bad knees. If something wasn't right on that paper, Frank would see it. He opened the door in his robe, coffee in hand, squinting like he wasn't expecting anyone that early. "Tom," he said, "everything all right?" I shook my head. "No, it's not." He stepped aside without another word. We sat at his kitchen table. I laid the documents out in front of him, both of them, mine and Margaret's. He didn't rush, just put on his glasses and started reading. Slow, careful, the way he always did when something mattered. The room stayed quiet except for the ticking of a clock on the wall. After a while, he leaned back, pulled the glasses off, and looked at me. "Where'd you get these?" he asked. "My son," I said. "Or what's left of him." Frank nodded once, then tapped the paper with Margaret's signature. "This one," he said, "is supposed to transfer partial control of the property before her death." I felt my stomach drop. "She never told me anything about that," I said. "I believe you." He slid the paper back toward me, then pointed again at the signature. "You're right to question this," he said. "It's close, but it's not consistent." I swallowed. "So what are you saying?" Frank held my gaze. "I'm saying this didn't happen the way it should have." The room felt smaller all of a sudden. "Can you prove it?" I asked. He hesitated, just for a second. "Maybe," he said, "but that's not the part you should be most worried about." I frowned. "What do you mean?" He leaned forward, lowering his voice like someone might be listening. "Tom, if your son forged this, or had someone do it, he didn't do it alone." I felt a chill run straight through me. "Then who?" I asked. Frank didn't answer right away. He just looked back down at the paper, at Margaret's name, and then he said something that made my hands go cold. "Who witnessed her signature?" Frank didn't answer me right away. He turned the paper slowly, then tapped the bottom corner where the witness signature sat. I leaned in closer, my eyes trying to make sense of the name scribbled there. And then I saw it. Daniel Reed. My son. I felt something drop clean through me, like the ground had just opened up without warning. "He witnessed it?" I said, barely getting the words out. Frank nodded once. "According to this, yes." "That's not right," I said. "He wasn't even there most days near the end. He came by when it suited him, not for paperwork like this." Frank didn't argue. He just watched me, letting me come to it on my own. I picked the paper up again, this time looking closer, slower. Margaret's name, the date, the witness line. And then I noticed something else. The date. 3 months before she died. But that week, that exact week, she was in the hospital. I remember it clear as anything now. She'd taken a turn, breathing got bad. They kept her overnight. I barely left her side except to grab coffee from the machine down the hall. Daniel wasn't there, not once. I looked up at Frank. "She couldn't have signed this at home." "She didn't," he said quietly. "And she didn't sign it at the hospital either," I said. "There were nurses in and out constantly." "I would have seen something like this." Frank folded his hands on the table. "Then the question isn't whether this is wrong. It's how far it goes," I finished. We sat there in silence again, but it wasn't the same kind of silence as before. This one had weight, direction. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about what my son had been willing to do while his mother was still alive. I leaned back in the chair, rubbing my face with both hands. "Why?" I said. "He wasn't hurting. I helped him. All these years, I helped him." Frank gave a small, tired breath. "Sometimes that's the problem, Tom. When help turns into expectation." I stared at the table. He forged her name, stood as witness, and then came after me. Frank didn't correct me, didn't soften it, because there was no softer way to say it. After a while, I gathered the papers and stood up. My legs felt older than they had yesterday. "What are you going to do?" Frank asked. I paused at the door. "I'm going to talk to my son," I said. But even as I said it, I knew something had changed. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was something else. That afternoon, I drove back to the house again. Same driveway, same porch, but this time, Daniel was already outside, pacing like he'd been waiting. When he saw me, he stopped cold. "Where have you been?" he snapped. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I walked up slowly, holding the papers in my hand. "I know exactly what I've seen," I said. His eyes flicked to the documents, and for the first time since all this started, he looked nervous. "Dad..." "No," I said, cutting him off. "You don't get to talk first this time." He swallowed, jaw tightening. I held up the paper with Margaret's name. "She never signed this," I said. Silence. Real silence. Not avoidance, not annoyance. Fear. "Say something," I told him. He ran a hand through his hair, looking past me, anywhere but at me. "It was just paperwork," he muttered. That was it. That was his answer. Something inside me went still. "Your mother was in a hospital bed," I said quietly. "And you were forging her name." "It wasn't like that," he said quickly. "You don't understand how complicated things were. I understand enough." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You were going to lose everything anyway, Dad. The taxes, the upkeep. I was fixing it before it collapsed. By stealing it. By securing it," he shot back. "For both of us." I stared at him, really looked at him, and I didn't recognize the man standing in front of me anymore. "Who helped you?" I asked. He froze, just for a second. But it was enough, because in that second, I knew there was someone else. "I asked you something," I said. He shook his head. "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." He stepped back, voice harder now. "You're making this bigger than it is." "No," I said. "You already did that." We stood there, neither of us moving. Then he said something that didn't fit, something that landed wrong the second it left his mouth. "She knew what she was doing." I felt my chest tighten. "What did you just say?" He blinked, like he hadn't meant to say it out loud. Nothing." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You said she knew." He didn't answer, didn't deny it either. And that's when it hit me. Not like a shock, like a slow, heavy realization settling into place. Because if Margaret knew, if she had anything to do with this, then everything I thought I understood about the last 6 months of her life was about to fall apart. I looked at my son, really looked at him, waiting for him to say I'd heard it wrong. He didn't. He just stood there, breathing a little faster now, eyes shifting like he was trying to find a way out of something that had already closed in. "She knew what she was doing," he said again, quieter this time, like if he softened it, it might hurt less. My hand tightened around the papers. "Start talking," I told him. He hesitated, then finally let out a long breath, shoulders dropping. "She came to me," he said, "not the other way around." That didn't make sense. "Your mother could barely walk to the kitchen at that point," I said. "And you expect me to believe she was planning property transfers behind my back?" "She wasn't confused," he snapped. "She was clear, sharp. She said you wouldn't be able to handle things after she was gone." I felt that one land deep. "She said that?" I asked. He nodded. She said you were already slipping, forgetting bills, ignoring problems. She didn't want everything falling apart. That's a lie. It's not, he said, firmer now. She asked me to step in early, to protect the house, by putting it in your name, by keeping it from getting lost. I shook my head slowly. Then why fake her signature? That stopped him. For a second, just a second. He didn't have anything to say. Then he looked at me, jaw tight. Because she couldn't finish it, he said. The air shifted. What does that mean? I asked. His voice dropped. She started the process, but things moved faster than we thought. She got worse. There were forms, deadlines, and he swallowed. I finished what she wanted. No, I said quietly. You decided what she wanted. He didn't answer, and that silence told me more than anything else. I took a step back, looking past him at the house, at the windows, the porch, the life that used to sit inside those walls. Did she tell you to take the money too? I asked. He frowned. What money? $63,000. His expression shifted. Confusion, real this time. I didn't take $63,000, he said. I stared at him. Don't do that, I warned. I'm not, he said quickly. I transferred the property, yeah, but I didn't touch your account like that. That money's gone, I said. Clean transfer, same time all this paperwork went through. He shook his head. That wasn't me. We stood there, both of us, caught in something neither of us had expected. Because for the first time, his story didn't line up with what I knew. Then who? I asked. He didn't answer, didn't even try. And that's when I realized something worse than anything that had come before. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just one bad decision. Something else had been moving underneath all of it. Quiet, careful, hidden. I looked down at the papers in my hand, then back at my son. And for the first time since this all started, I didn't know which one of us had been left in the dark the longest. Dad, he said, softer now. But I was already turning away, because whatever the truth was, it hadn't finished revealing itself yet. If this story meant something to you, subscribe. There's more to come.